There's a sort of joke in the fitness industry around guys skipping leg day. Generally, if a guy has small legs in comparison to their upper body, this joke will be thrown around pretty frequently. And the reason behind that is because, well, it's true. Most guys just prefer to train upper body and aren't really bothered about growing legs and in particular, glutes. In fact, if I think there's one muscle that gets neglected and overlooked by most guys, it's the glutes. You see, I'm a little bit different in this respect. My favourite muscle group to train is the glutes, or the butt, I suppose, for the less sciencey people out there. But a lot of guys don't really focus on training them directly. Instead, they'll focus on quads or hamstrings, maybe calves, but unlikely. Now, for me, they just shouldn't be the case, especially because if you're trying to attract a partner, they're not going to want you having small glutes. Picture this, you're in the club and you're approached by someone you find attractive. You start chatting, you're about to buy them a drink, you lean over the bar, and instead of them accepting that drink, you get rejected. Now, that simple lean over the bar and the exposure of your butt being out in the open as you leant forward, this could have cost you that date. You never know. This person could have been your soulmate. This could have been the moment that you found the person you were meant to spend your life with. But because you had underdeveloped glutes, it didn't go past that first conversation. So for me, this is enough of a reason to train your glutes. Jokes aside, I just think if you don't have well-developed glutes, your physique is probably going to look a bit disproportionate, especially if you train upper body a lot. So today we're going to be running through my 4 favourite movements for growing that bunda, that sweet, sweet peach. I'm going to start with my 4th favourite, the Romanian deadlift, or RDL. Now, when it comes to the RDL, the first thing that comes into my head and what's worked for me is actually not going too heavy. Instead, I want to focus on a good time under tension, so basically how long each rep takes, and I really want to be feeling this movement in my glutes instead of my hamstrings. It's really easy to let your hamstrings take over during the Romanian deadlift. So you want to take an even grip on the bar, set your shoulder blades back so they are locked in. This will help with your posture and keeping your back straight throughout the movement, and then you should hinge at the hip. One cue that I feel helps me is keeping the bar as close to my legs as I comfortably can. Also, when performing this movement, as I said previously, it's so easy to let your hamstrings take over. So you want a slight bend in your knees as you come down, and you want to be thinking about engaging your glutes throughout the entire range of motion. You can also do this movement with dumbbells instead if you would prefer. I'd say for beginners, this is probably a little bit easier to use the dumbbells, but if you're comfortable with a barbell, I feel this is probably the better selection. Mainly because on most barbell movements, you generally tend to progress a little bit faster than dumbbell movements. And this movement's about progression at the end of the day. So as I said, that was my 4th favourite movement, the Romanian deadlift. Moving on to my 3rd favourite movement, and this is one that I think kind of has a love-hate relationship with me and with a lot of people in the fitness industry. It is the Bulgarian split squat. Now, when it comes to the Bulgarian split squat, this is a unilateral movement, meaning each leg works independently during the exercise. This is great for any imbalances, so say one leg is stronger than the other, this could be a really good movement for you. For me, the Bulgarian split squat is great because you have quite a bit of freedom during the movement. You can bring your front leg further or closer to the bench, depending on what feels best. For me, I feel I get more glute activation when my front leg is further from the bench, but this really depends on the person. When performing a Bulgarian split squat, you want to take a deep breath at the start of the movement, brace your core, focus on one spot in front of you. This is to maintain good balance before dropping your back knee as close to the floor as you can. You don't want to touch the floor as you want to keep constant tension on the glutes, and then you want to push up through your glutes on the second part of the movement. With a Bulgarian split squat, you can also do a Smith machine variation, which can be better for people who struggle with balance. Personally, I prefer the dumbbells as it's a little more challenging and I feel it in my glutes more than the Smith machine version. Moving on to my 2nd favourite glute exercise now, and what I feel has helped me grow my glutes the second most, and that is the barbell hip thrust. Now, I only really introduced these around a year ago, and they have made such a big difference to my glute development. With the hip thrust, you want to set up a bench or a box. This is where you'll place your shoulder blades during the movement, and then you want the bar in front of you. You can also put a barbell pad on the barbell if you feel this will be more comfortable. Take a shoulder width stance with your feet and roll the barbell onto your hips before adjusting yourself into position and beginning the movement. With the hip thrust, I like to focus on 2 things. First of all, how deep I'm going. So similar to the Bulgarian split squat, you don't want any of your legs touching the floor. Instead, you want constant tension. And to achieve this, I like to shorten my range of motion at the bottom and leave around a couple inches to half a foot between the floor and my glutes. The second thing I really want you to focus on is the squeeze at the top of the movement. Really engaging your glutes at the top here can be an absolute game changer when it comes to glute activation. With the hip thrust, you also have the option of a dumbbell variation or maybe even a glute drive machine. I'd say these are probably a little bit better for beginners, very, very similar to the RDL. Now, before we go on to the absolute pinnacle of glute movements, I just want to quickly touch on one thing, and that is stretching. I feel like before a session, I get the best glute activation after putting a lot of emphasis on stretching before the session. So I spend probably about 10 minutes just doing some sort of glute stretches, so the ones you'll see me demonstrating in the background. You've also got hamstring stretches in here, you've got hip stretches, sort of just stretch any area around the glute that you feel is going to be beneficial for you, which you feel will allow you to get the best glute activation when it comes to your training. Now, my final movement and the exercise that I feel has allowed me to develop my glutes as well as I have is the barbell squat. A very well-known movement and pretty much the king of leg exercises. When it comes to barbell squat, the reason I think it is so good is because of the amount you can progress in such a short period of time. For example, when I first started training, I could probably add at least a few kg to the bar per session. Obviously, that's plateaued now, but recently I've been focused on good depth and clean reps instead. With the barbell squat, you want to set the bar up in a rack at a height that is easy to unrack the bar. You want to take a few steps back and take a shoulder width stance. Similar to the Bulgarian split squat, you want to take a deep breath at the start of the movement. You want to brace your core and begin by slowly bending at the knees, bringing your glutes closer to the floor. When it comes to range of motion, you want to get just below parallel, so just where your hips are below your knees before exploding out and controlling the weight up. Again, if you're a beginner and you're not overly confident with a barbell squat, I'd recommend a dumbbell squat instead. So guys, that is wrapping up my 4 favourite glute movements. And if you know me, if you follow me over from Instagram, you'll know that my glutes are sort of my pride and joy. They're a part of my physique that I feel complements me quite well. And as I said, well-developed glutes really, really complete a physique. So I'm going to wrap things up now, guys. If you've got any questions at all, do not be afraid to put them in the comments section below. And if you've made it this far, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a top rest of your day. Big love. H.